Good morning to you on a Monday morning, brand new week as we begin the month of August already. My goodness, it's August 3rd. And later on, well, let's see, I was going to tell you what we're going to do at 10 o'clock. It's the same thing we're going to do at 9 o'clock. So I won't, because with me in the studio this morning to announce their summer match kickoff is the one and only Big Kahuna, top dog. I have other things I can say, but I won't. But he's a good friend. Dan Streeter from the Rescue Ministries of Mid-Michigan. Good morning to you.
Good morning. I'm always a little concerned when you start to just kind of shoot off the cuff. Yeah, like that.
Also, I want to mention on Focus today, we'll learn about Trinity Lutheran School. How many years now for this summer match? I don't remember. It's been a long time.
Well, you asked me one question that I wasn't prepared for. So I think this has been around year. This has been around year 8.
Nice talking to you. It's something like that. What brought it about then?
So we had seen historically and had concern. We get into August every year, and we would just see our giving drop off July and August, and it would drop off tremendously. And it was one of those patterns that we knew was going to happen every year, and so we would try to prepare for it. But you can't fully prepare for when cash flow happens because you still have people that are in the building. And for example, last night, 235 people staying in the emergency shelter, and an additional 31 staying in our drop-in center in Bay City.
Has that been typical?
What's that?
Has that been typical?
Yeah, to see that kind of numbers consistently year over year. And so we knew a big part of it was letting people know, because there was a misperception that homelessness is only a cold weather issue. And so, how can we get the message out? And that's where talking to WSGW was one of the great ways to say, let's try a different way of getting the message out so people understand the need, because this community has just been so amazing for 120 years. Since 1905, Rescue Ministries was started, and so just supporting this ministry and allowing us to be able to do this special work for people who are in need for so many years. And so we knew it wasn't an issue that people didn't believe in what we were doing, but they just needed to know that there's a serious issue of trying to help provide care, but watching our funds be at the lowest.
Yeah, this is why I've told people, in talking about giving, I chose, as you know, to just give every month automatically, and thus there's no downtime.
And so you are what we call, you're called a gem. We love our gems. And so just like what you said, give every month, GEM. And people who do that,
I've never heard that before.
Yeah. So you didn't realize you're one of our special donors. Give every month. People who just are faithful and will do a set amount every month all through the year. That's our best case scenario. But we also realize that people have different patterns that happen in their life, and so there's reasons why they give different amounts at different times of the year. But 8 years ago, it was just like you drop off a cliff come August. And so that's where we started brainstorming with you and with Charlie, and can we get the message out? And now it's created this tremendous emphasis. I was even talking to somebody this weekend. Is this the time now? Is this the time of year for the match? And sure enough, it's beginning of August.
I think I asked you a month or a month and a half ago, when is the match?
Exactly, yes. And that's what I just love about our donors and what I love about this community. Different ways that people connect, and they're just waiting. They're just waiting for the opportunity to have the greatest impact. And so today's that day we kick off.
And it's a summer match, which means you come in with money in your pocket. Problem is, it's in the wrong pocket. And in order to move from the wrong pocket to the right pocket, there has to be a match.
We started talking with some very faithful donors back in May. Would they be willing to help put up funds to help accomplish the summer match? And some of our donors just absolutely love to be able to do that, to know that you can help advocate and to get more people to get involved.
It doubles the value of their commitment.
It's a win for everybody. It's exciting for donors on both sides of it because now you know that you're having the twice the effect that you normally would.
So how much are you coming in with?
So we're hoping to match $35,000. So a chance. This is a 2-week campaign. It'll end on August 14th, and it's a multifaceted. So you don't, some of your listeners don't get confused. If you're part of our email campaigns, you'll see it come out into your email box. Some of you will see it come into your mailbox, and you're hearing it now today. So I'm trying to make sure that everybody who's around any type of medium will be able to hear about it and hopefully respond. And even those, part of the reason why we do it for a 2-week campaign, because there's people that are on vacation this week. And
that's pretty much why your donations fall off in the summer.
It is. People it's 2 reasons. One is because they get distracted from the great things that are happening here in Michigan all summer long, but then also because the perception that homelessness wasn't that big of an issue. So you combine those 2 things. But that's what has been so neat about this campaign. The first year we did it, I don't know if you remember, we were out at Haithco Park. Mm-hmm. You were doing a live remote.
And I remember at the very end,
yep,
you were X thousand short, 5,000 or something like that, and a farmer called.
Yes. Yep. He was out in the fields.
Brought it over the top.
Yep. He was out in the fields listening. He saw it. We knew that we were short. And so, by the time we were done with that remote, I think right at the very end of it, he made that gift. It was
the very last thing.
We got the last word. Yes. So awesome. And ever since then, we've hit the match amount and just a great partnership.
Well, I mean, it's fascinating to watch over the years, the Radiothon and how the numbers have gone up, and the match, how the numbers have gone up, because you never sit still. You always come in with more. It's constant.
Well,
it has to be.
Well, it is. It's because the economy continues. The inflation still happens.
Well, let's also point out the other thing that's happened, not just the fact that inflation and all of those things have happened. They have. But you continually come up with new services the community needs, which have to be paid for.
Exactly. Well, I think the community gives us the opportunity. They empower us. And we could only go as far as what the donations that come in. And there's been over so many years, and starting with Dad being involved with the ministry, but even before then, very faithful leadership that has helped sustain, and people respond to that. And it's something that you build a trust. And to me, that's probably the most important thing is that we're transparent, and that we stay faithful to what it is that people give to. And people build that trust, and that's why they give.
Well, you can always spot his dad, folks. He's the one looking over his shoulder going, your budget is what this year?
And so...
it is, it's got to be pretty dramatic from when Ken had the ministries and all that in the beginnings and where it is today.
I definitely caught a lot of that vision from him, because he was definitely not one to sit idly by. You see the need in our community, and you can either say, well, woe is me, or you can say, let's try to do something. And so I think we've both had that perspective. And one interesting thing, Dad was sharing this with me the other day. He officially started as the director back on November 1st of 1976.
I remember it. And I'd been here 2 years.
Yeah. And so, come this November, it will be 50 years between he and I that we've been in leadership of the ministry, which is a pretty unique situation nationwide for missions like us. And so something we're excited about. But the most important thing is to see how practical and how much has changed and how much more we're able to do for the community.
Okay, before we forget, if somebody wants to give during this match period, how might they do that?
The easiest way is to go to our website, rescuemidmichigan.org. And within a couple links, you'll have accomplished the opportunity. or you'll also potentially see something in your mailbox or your email box. But you could also do it the old-fashioned way and write a check and then put it in the mail, and make sure you put in the memo or a little note in there about the summer match. And then before the campaign is done, obviously it'll show up in our mailbox. Whatever way is the easiest, or you could call in 989-755-HOPE. Any one of those ways will help accomplish meeting the need and help us to get closer to fulfilling that match.
All right, we're going to take a break, and we will be back with Dan Streeter from the Rescue Ministries, the summer match campaign underway. Let me take a moment to talk about my friends at Quick Lane Freeland. You know, lots of potholes out there, and if you hit enough of them, you're going to disrupt your car's alignment, which is a safety issue and a wear issue. And our friends at Quick Lane Freeland are offering you a complimentary alignment check. It takes 15 or 20 minutes. They put your car up on a rack. They attach these devices to your wheels, and then they have this big laser machine that reads everything while they turn the wheels. And you get a printout of your alignment, your caster, camber, toe, and all that stuff. And if it needs adjusting, they can do it for you. But if everything is green, you're good to go. No charge. It's a complimentary alignment check. And if you wonder how important alignment is, here's John from Quick Lane to talk about that very thing.
If your vehicle's wheels are aligned correctly, it will not pull to the left or to the right when driving. It also prevents improper tread wear, so your tires last longer. A wheel alignment should be checked often because normal steering wear and tear can cause your alignment to go out, in addition to potholes and railroad crossings. A correct alignment also reduces rolling resistance on your tires for better fuel mileage.
And, of course, better safety. Stop in today, Quick Lane Freeland, part of the McDonald Ford complex in Freeland. And also remember, if you need tires, they sell all of their new tires at just $5 over cost, and they have a large inventory. Stop in today. Quick Lane Freeland and McDonald Ford, two names willing to help you with all your automotive needs in 2026.
It's the Saginaw County Fair, August 4th.
Summer match campaign for the Rescue Ministries of Mid-Michigan underway for the next 2 weeks. That's not to say you can't donate after the 2 weeks, but if you want to get matched, do it before the end of the match campaign. Dan Streeter with us this morning. So let's talk about usage. I heard you say before 235 overnight guests in the main missions, 31 in your day
drop-in center. Yep.
We're going to talk about the differences too, but when these folks come in, do you talk to them? Do you understand how they got to where they are, that they need your services?
That's a blending between, myself and staff, and you get the chance to, with 235, I'm not meeting
each and every one. Yeah.
And that's the beauty of our staff, is the quality of connection that they make. That's part of their job, but that's also part of their passion. And some of the reason for that passion is because they themselves had sat in that exact same seat of need, and that they've experienced what it means to be homeless. And so that helps them to connect, and they come in with a passion right off the gate to try to help somebody out of it because somebody did that same thing for them. And so it's always intriguing to me to see the different struggles. And in the 34 years that I've been involved with the ministry, that's changed a lot. And you've seen different eras. When I first had started in the 80s, there was a lot of veteran homelessness. But fortunately, that's changed. It's not as prevalent as what it used to be. But now you see such a multifaceted, so many individuals are struggling and just barely getting by, and there's a multi-reasons why they're experiencing homelessness. Some of it is wrapped in generational poverty, that they have grown up in that situation. That's all they know. so they don't know an escape method. And for whatever reason, their parents or the broken family that they were in had been experiencing homelessness, and so that sets them on a track. Others, it's because of mental illness, and that it has overwhelmed them, and there's a disconnect that they've made from their own natural family, which causes them to become homeless. And substance abuse, obviously, is also in there.
I was going to ask, folks come in because they find themselves in these situations. How much of it is because life took an unexpected turn, and how much of it is self-inflicted?
I would say a lot more of it is unexpected turns that have happened. We'll have people who have been educators that, the bottom falls out. People who have had successful careers and on unplanned illness, they didn't have a support structure. Many times I say people become homeless not because they run out of money, but because they've run out of relationships. And so that isolation, that disconnect, along with other things happening, there's a lot of elderly homeless as well. And so to put a finger on any one specific demographic would be a mistake. And that's why it's important that our staff, our case managers, they sit down, they get to know each person that comes through. A lot of times by the time somebody comes to us, they've already experienced multiple levels of rejection. Some of it is by family. Some of it's by friends. They've been couch surfing. Some of it is because they lost a job and that started them on the spiral. It might have been a medical situation that caused them to not be able to get back to work, and they didn't have a support structure in place. So many of these different issues, and so that's why we need to rebuild trust and try to help guide people towards a sustainable situation and peel back the different layers. There's usually no one singular reason why somebody became homeless. And so then it's trying to not only find out, build that trust, but then to try to rebuild and to stabilize and head in the right direction.
Because, and again, I'm an outsider looking into this, all right? If I found myself in that situation, I find it to be embarrassing, obviously.
That's a big part.
How many come in hesitant, and how many come in willing to know they have to make change?
The ones that come in willing to know that they need to make change are usually the ones who maybe this is their second visit. Now, the surprising part is about 51% of those that are experiencing homelessness are doing so for the first time. So there's a huge amount of fear. There's the unknown, and there is the shame, like what you're talking about. And that's why it's so critical how we address someone, how we provide them towards solutions, and so that way that part is removed immediately. But for those that are coming back, they know for whatever reason, sometimes it's, like I said, the mental health issue, that they didn't get connected to the services that could have been available for them. Sometimes it's the substance abuse. To me, that's when we know that we've done our job the best, is that somebody goes out, they make a mistake, but they know that they can still be accepted and come back. And sometimes those are the ones that are ready to roll up their sleeves right away. Okay, yes, I know I made a mistake. I'm ready to do it the right way.
Today is the kickoff of the Summer Match campaign for the Rescue Ministries of Mid-Michigan. Tell everybody again how they can donate.
Go to our website, rescuemidmichigan.org. That'd be the easiest way, or you can call 989-755-HOPE, or you could write a check, turn it in, put it in the mail, go the snail mail route. Any one of those ways. Or you could even just come by the mission. We'd love to either come to...
You just read my mind. I was going to ask if you can do that.
Yeah. See, so, I mean, great minds think alike. And so you could go...
It is?
It is, yeah. You could go to Good Samaritan in Bay City, 713 9th Street, or you could go to City Rescue Mission in Saginaw. And either location would be prepared to be able to take your donation right there on the spot.
All right. We'll be back to talk more with Dan Streeter. He is the CEO of the Rescue Ministries of Mid-Michigan. We'll be back.
Campaign season is funny.
And we are back with you in studio with me, Dan Streeter, CEO of the Rescue Ministries of Mid-Michigan. Their summer match campaign kicking off today. They have a $35,000 trove coming in that they'd like to match every dollar, so they get every one of those dollars. And the campaign goes for 2 weeks. So let's kind of separate things. You have so many tentacles of the Rescue Ministries now. Let's start with the City Rescue Ministry in Saginaw. Not a new building, but you've done a lot of work in that building. So what's its shape?
So the building in Saginaw was built in the mid-20s. It was first started as a senior apartment complex.
Oh, is that right?
And so for a lot of years, well, I should say it was started as an apartment complex, and then it became known as the Salvation Army Eventide Home, and so it was about a 22,000 square foot building, 4 stories, and we purchased it in the early 80s with a passion. Up until then, City Rescue Mission had been a men's emergency shelter. And so we saw a need for, I say we, it was Mom and Dad at that point, and the board that was involved saw a need for family homelessness to be served. And so we started one of the first family shelters here in this region back in the early 80s. And then in 2000, the numbers continued to grow, and so we basically doubled the size. We did a campaign to help raise funds and basically doubled the size. And so now it's about a 45,000 square foot building.
Where did you end? You added on to it?
So we added on. Yep. We went just a little bit north
Can't
there,
tell.
there on the campus. Yeah. It was all blended in together. And so making sure that the floors matched from one side to
Sure.
the other. And so the 4th floor of that building is for our women and children. And then the 3rd floor is for more families, and then soon to be some transitional housing, a program that we're looking to start that will have a work focus to it. And 2nd floor is our predominantly our men's emergency shelter, and then the 1st floor is where a lot of food service and classrooms and things like that happen. And so, yeah, we've grown into that campus, and we continue to, as property would become available in that neighborhood, we would continue to buy different lots. And so that's what allowed us then in 2021 to build a 5,000 square foot warehouse, which is now the home of our Impact Designs Ministry.
Which we'll talk about.
And so that's the kind of the interesting things that are happening on that campus. And then we continued to expand a little bit north when the Dornbos printing building became available. And now that is what we call our MAC building, Mission Activity Center. So that's it expands a little bit of what we store for Impact Designs, but then that becomes a volunteer hub for us to be able to do our hygiene products and to be able to clothing and food drives that happen, to be able to process them, and volunteers get engaged with that. So definitely a needed part to help kind of sustain operations. So the main building, the main part of the campus is all about homeless services, and then that Mission Activity Center is about helping to provide the needs to fuel what's going on.
And they're not done yet, folks. You heard him say a new service. Now, what is this work relation service?
So we're transitional housing. We're in the curriculum building, program building stage of it, hoping to launch that this fall. And it's going to be for single individuals. One of the things that we learned through COVID was that our stays lengthened because there's a lack of affordable housing in the region. And so where stays were happening that maybe would average around 43, 44 days now have shot up to be more like 70 days.
Oh, wow.
And part of it is people are lacking some of the skills, but there's the lack of affordable housing. And so that's what has us thinking about a supportive program, transitional housing, where people can continue to work on the skills that have been causing them to not be able to have success, but very vocationally focused. And so we'll launch a Jobs for Life program, but then also work on helping to remove the barriers that are keeping people from being successfully employed. Working with some targeted employers, having a very clear curriculum, and then the accountability and knocking down those barriers, like transportation. Transportation is a huge one.
Yeah.
And so we'll be looking to launch that. We're going to do it 8 people at a time. So we'll start with 8, and then we'll add another 8, and before you know it, it'll be a full functioning program to help individuals get out of the traps of homelessness.
Which is why the Summer Match program is so important. How do they donate?
Go to rescuemidmichigan.org, or you can call 989-755-HOPE, and you could also then just drop a check in the mail, any one of those ways, or just drop by the mission.
And we'll be back.
I'm John James.
We're back with you in studio, Dan Streeter. He is the CEO of the Rescue Ministries of Mid-Michigan, the City Rescue Mission in Saginaw, Good Samaritan in Bay City. So let's talk about Good Samaritan for a minute. We haven't talked about that because that seems to be a place that has changed its character over the years because you keep adding.
You know, that's been such a neat project to watch develop over the years. And we knew for many years that there was a homeless problem in Bay City because we were seeing them come all the way to Saginaw to be able to get assistance. And so in the mid-'90s, we started to look for the right site and the right opportunity. But, you know, God just kind of closed the door. It wasn't the right time, and we didn't feel like we should be trying to force it. And then in early 2000, there were some community leaders who became more passionate about and saw the need for homeless services. And so they came and toured our facility in Saginaw. And after they saw what we were doing, they said, you know what, this is exactly what we need in Bay City. And so that blew up the door. And then it just so happened that Bay Regional Medical had what had been the Samaritan Hospital was vacant and hadn't had anybody in there for several years. And so they sold the building to us for about $130,000, which was a great price.
Under market.
Yes, under market. And so we started to work on the fundraising and to renovate the space. And they saw within 2 months where we were going with it. And so then they gifted the building to us.
Really?
And yes. They said, don't make another payment. And so that really helped the momentum for us to be able to get open sooner. So March 23rd of 2005 is when we officially opened up for our first services and for women and children. And we've been able to just methodically over the years, as the donor base continued to grow, to provide more services. So as of last night, 92 individuals, men, women, children, were able to provide
Good Samaritan.
in our normal sheltering services. We're able to provide service for them. And then in 2021 is when we were able to open up the licensed youth shelter, so 12 to 17-year-olds. And then 23 is when we opened up Labadee Lofts, which is a permanent housing setting for 18 to 21-year-olds. So we're able to work with 10 youth in an apartment setting, in a rental setting to help them with their vocational skills. Kids who had come through and experienced homelessness, or they came through the foster care system. We'd identified really a critical need and a gap. And basically that was going to become our next generation of homeless. And so that's why we were so passionate about engaging with them. And then in 2024, we activated a license with the state of Michigan for transitional housing for 16 and 17-year-olds. So now we have this great comprehensive service for 12 to 21-year-olds for those that are...
I got to ask, Dan, before all those licenses, if you were opened up as a mission and a 16-year-old showed up at your doorstep, couldn't you serve them?
We could not keep them by themselves overnight.
Really?
Right. Yeah. So it's now, fortunately, there had been places like Youth Protection Services here in Saginaw,
Yeah.
but then also at that, Corey Place had been in existence in Bay County. But when they closed, that's what really captured our attention and said, well, somebody needs to help provide that service here. And so that we built and worked towards the capacity of being able to do so. And it's just so
scary.
exciting
The
to.
scary thing about it is there's a demand.
There's a huge demand.
That's scary.
So state stats would show that around 24,000 kids are experiencing homelessness in the state of Michigan. Michigan is the fourth largest when it comes to youth homelessness. And this is the really sobering piece, is that only about 1,000 kids will engage with services. There's only 7 youth shelters across the entire state, and so Bay City is one of 7. But only 1,000 kids out of that 24. The rest are out there couch surfing. And that's where as we looked deeper into the issue, that's why we knew we needed to get the transitional housing, because so many of those kids are in such a rough home situation where there's neglect and abuse, and there's mental illness and substance abuse that's happening with their
Trace that to
parents.
almost every one of them, right?
Exactly. And so part of the challenge in the licensed youth shelter is family reconciliation. Well, that kid has just escaped that rough situation. They don't want to go back into that. And so that's why they would not come into the licensed youth shelter. But when we opened up the transitional housing, now they know that they can stay with us for a long period of time and not be forced to go back into that abusive situation. And so that allows us to be able to help onboard them into long-term programs and services, so that way they don't have to, they start to become independent at that point.
And what's the capacity? You can only handle so many, right?
Right. And so that's part of where we look towards the future. Between the youth shelter, that's for 5, licensed for 5. That's basically just try to assess and get things rolling, and then the transitional housing is for 10 right now. And so on the future, as we continue to engage more and more kids, we're seeing that happen, and we may have to in the future continue to add more to that license.
Does that call for a separate facility?
It would, because we've kind of maxed out what we can do on the immediate campus, and so those are things that we look towards on the horizon. But we want to do so very wisely. We don't want to build space that we're not gonna fill.
Summer Match campaign underway for the Rescue Ministries. How do they contribute?
Go to rescuemidmichigan.org, or you can drop a check in the mail and just put Summer Match in there and with a note, or you can call in 989-755-4673.
All right, Dan Streeter going to be with us next hour, too, to talk more about it as the Summer Match campaign is underway for the Rescue Ministries of Mid-Michigan. News is next.
Beautiful new Florida.